Welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast, the best podcast for the business and marketing side of the sawmill, lumber, and wood industry. What's a woodpreneur? If you have a business where you make money as a woodworker, sawmill owner, selling slabs, or a content creator, then you're a woodpreneur. My name's Steve Larosiliere, and I started Woodpreneur Life, Acres of Timber, and the Woodpreneur podcast just for makers, wood entrepreneurs, and small business owners just like you. We're on a mission to empower thousands of wood businesses to grow sustainably and put out great products. Each week, I interview makers, sawyers, content creators, and 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs that know the wood industry inside and out. With topics covering everything from the urban lumber movement, sustainable sourcing and design, we'll discuss the ins and outs of how to grow, monetize, and fully immerse yourself in the woodpreneur lifestyle. If you're a hobbyist, a full-time wood business owner, part-time entrepreneur who wants to become a content creator, or quit your day job to pursue your dreams, the Woodpreneur podcast is just for you. Thanks so much for listening. Now enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. This is your host, Steve Larosiliere. Today's guest is BJ Chandler from Millhaven Homes. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Tell everybody about the history of your business. How'd you get started?
I'll try and condense it the best I can. So we've been in business a little over 15 years. We're currently a custom home builder, but we take a much more intense and detailed approach. We actually handle everything from start to finish. So we have a development arm in-house. We do plan design, interior design, landscape architecture, obviously the construction of the home. Then we have a whole furniture team and a landscape installation team. So the idea is that the client will hire us for the entire project from start to finish rather than hiring, 4 or 5 different entities and kind of managing them together. And in a high net worth kind of luxury custom home, that's a real benefit to a client who's busy and has a lot of irons in the fire just to have one throat to choke or one company to kind of work with. So that's where we are currently. How we got there, it just was organic. It was kind of an evolution of what we saw in the market. We started out as a semi-custom home builder. Our founder, his name was Jeremy Ackley. He's kind of moved into more of a development role position now, and I've taken over on the residential side. But we started semi-custom homes. We were doing houses and lots together combined for a price tag of like $285 to like $350. And now in our development portfolio, I don't think we own a lot that's less than $650. So that kind of gives you like the variable. Our minimum home price starts usually about 1.8. So if you take, landscaping and stuff and everything, all the services we offer, we're typically in about a 3 million to, whatever X times that. So we just evolved because as we saw the custom home market, we both had experience in our previous trades. He was a mason. I was running a granite and tile company. And I was kind of handling the sales and marketing arm, and he was handling the construction and the business side. And we started to look for gaps where we could see custom home builders were struggling. And I don't know if you deal with this, Steve, or you've seen it, but in a home building, especially a custom home, and I think in almost any home, this is the largest purchase that someone's going to make in their entire life.
Yeah.
And yet it's full of stories of horrible customer experience.
Yeah.
Like figure that out. When you have a choice, you can go get your oil changed and you base it on where you have the best customer experience. And that's, $80 to $120. But yet people were building with these, multi-million dollar contractors, and customer experience was just kind of like, hopefully we get it done. There was more nightmares than not. And so we kind of set out to change that narrative.
Yeah.
By plugging the gaps, identifying where the gaps were and then filling in those spaces. And that's how we acquired all those different services. Because now we can manage the client experience and the customer expectation because we handle the entire
and the communication channel and
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So sorry, long intro, but
No. That makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
I think the one thing that I have found with construction trades is the onus on so much is dependent on the customer to do the work, whereas like they are paying you to do the work, but then you're asking them to do more work, and then they're already stressed because they're going to have to make the biggest purchase of their life, and then they got to make 30 different decisions,
yeah,
right? Or 100 different decisions. And it's not done in a sequential manner. And they're getting hit with all of these things all over the place. And so, like, no, I completely see it, like, how and why you would take that on.
yeah.
Because then at a certain level, then you're probably providing a really, really high level of custom experience for the client, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because these guys they hire you as the general contractor
Yeah.
or the design build company, whatever it may be. But they've probably never done it. And if they've done it, maybe they've done it once. And if you're lucky, somebody's done it twice. But
Yeah.
I mean, we put our 110th custom home in the ground this week.
Wow.
And
Congrats.
if we've done 110 of those and we're working with a client that's done zero,
Yeah.
no way should we expect the client to understand how this process works compared to our experience and our directive. And so
Yeah.
we've got to really lay that out and map out what's the expectation, what's your commitment, how does this work, what are the ups and downs. And so we try and take out all the uncertainty just by our transparency, our communication, and then having it completely organized.
How do you manage customer, like do you place an emphasis on technology, or do you like
Yeah,
replace it with people? Like
yeah,
how does that work?
both, right? Because as we started to grow, we we really saw that we were you talked about decisions. There technically are about 10,000 decisions in a home that need to be made in a custom home. Even in a
Yeah.
powder bath, which is the smallest room in the house, you're going to have 30 to 40 plus decisions by the time you add it
Yeah.
all up.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we started to really see we've got to track the information better and we have to give
Mhm.
the client access to that information. And so we landed on we linked up with co-construct years ago,
Okay.
which has now been absorbed by builder trend. We haven't made the jump yet to builder trend because we're so integrated to co-construct, but we built that platform out to where co-construct told us, hey, you're as far as a custom home builder, you guys have mapped this out further than any company in the world.
Yeah.
And so our clients, if you look, you can pull up any spec in multiple categories within the spec. You can figure out exactly where your paint color is, what your drywall texture is. You can see just down to even the little doorknob. You can find it if you know how to
Incredible.
navigate that through co-construct. So we do that, but the platform doesn't run itself, right?
Yeah, you need people. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you need people and you need buy-in. And I'll be honest with you, it took us a year and a half, almost 2 years of paying for co-construct and not using it, and our team just realizing that I was relentless and I wasn't going to let it go. Like little
Yeah.
by little, just just finally, hey, you've got to do trainings, you've got to hit these benchmarks, and then eventually our trade base was like, hey, if we want to do work for these guys, we better get on board with co-construct. So now every single one of our trades is integrated into co-construct too. So there's
Incredible.
widespread transparency between everyone that's working on the project.
Yeah, yeah. How with those first couple of years, like how did you get the word out for the business? Like how do you I mean, you got like a big social following now, and you're like how did walk us through those first couple of years?
Sure. So I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm going to embarrass Jeremy here, but when I came to Millhaven, I think they were about 3 years in, and I come from an advertising and marketing background. Full transparency, I'm not a construction guy. Like I didn't come from the construction space. I
You're a
have,
business marketing guy.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. You sell a vision. You know
Yeah,
how to sell a vision. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of I compare it to kind of like the hospital administrator is not a doctor, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Um, so I came and I said, hey, kind of what's intact currently in your marketing? And he said, oh, we got a website and a Facebook page. And I'm like, who did the website? And he's like, oh, I traded it for like $500. And I'm looking at this thing like, whoa. And then we had this Facebook page which was non-existent, and then we had no social media, we had no Instagram, we had nothing. I said, hey, I'm going to start a couple of these things, and I need to spend a little money on a website. And at first he was just like, what? No, like that's a
Yeah,
waste of
yeah,
money.
yeah.
And so it took some time. However, you have to have a consistent reputation. You can market all you want, but in this space, and especially in our community, if you don't have a good reputation and you don't take care of people, you're not going to grow in your business, because
Hmm.
people are going to find that out. So it was a combination of Jeremy had a good core going of solid builds and a good client reference base, and then I injected the marketing, and it started out rough. And I look back at some of the stuff that we did in the beginning. I remember there's one, like I flew a paper airplane off of our third story office building, and I filmed it and I put it on social media, and I'm like, I look back and I'm like, what were you doing? But it was authentic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was stuff that we were doing at the time as a company, and we've stayed true to that mantra to just be who you are. There's enough business to go around for everybody. We don't want to cut anyone down. We want to lift everyone up around us, and we
Yeah.
want our clients to just have fun. We don't, we're doing these multi-million-dollar homes, but we don't take ourselves so serious that we can't interact, and we don't want people to think that we're not real people. I mean, we're
And approachable. Yeah.
super approachable, because look, you're in this relationship with us where you start from the beginning,
Hmm.
a year and a half, sometimes 2 years, and you've got to like these people, and they got to
Yeah.
like you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that first interaction means everything, right? Like
Sure.
how you interact, how you converse, everything.
Yeah.
Talk to me. So you actually do something that I tell a lot of people to do, but they never actually do. Is that you actually tell stories? How did that come about, and what impact did storytelling have on sales?
I'm actually, that's one of the best questions I've ever been asked, and I'm really grateful that you've picked up on that, because I think about my history, growing up as a kid and going to school or church or places where people were speaking or teaching or doing things, or my parents.
Hmm.
If they told me something, yeah, I may grab some of that information. But if they told a story with the principle behind it,
Yeah,
immediate retention and connection.
yeah,
And so I've always felt that way internally. And with our clients, they need to understand it's not just, hey, this is what we're doing. There's a why behind it, and there's a connection to this home that we're building. There's a benefit to them, and so you've got to tell this story about what the experience is going to be like, because it is enjoyable, but also what it's going to mean to them in the future to have a place to put down roots that has been customized to fit their very, very specific needs. So it's been great. I mean, I love it, because that's kind of what we do, is just,
tell stories.
yeah, we wake up and we're like, what do we want to talk about today? What's going on? What's happening? What would people like to hear
Yeah,
or see?
for sure. What do you how have you sort of how have customer tastes and preferences changed over the past couple of years since sort of scaling up this business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, um, COVID changed so much for so many people. The indoor outdoor space all of a sudden became not just an afterthought, but a simultaneous thought. Right? We don't separate those spaces anymore. That's why it's so great that we have a landscape team in house. As we're designing the plans, we integrate the landscape design very quickly, because those two need to connect. That's a big thing for us. There's a lot of, if you follow us, you see that a lot of our homes here in Utah, we do basements. And so we have some type of rec space. 8 out of 10 houses have a pickleball or basketball court of some size attached to the home. And we figured out how to do that with a pretty efficient price point. And I've never, ever had one client complain about spending the money on that space. They've only complained that they didn't do it bigger. That was the
Yeah.
mistake they made. They should have gone bigger in that space because of how much it's used. And then, we saw a lot of, like, if we're talking like products and trim and things like that, we saw a lot of white for years and years and years. A lot of farmhouse in our area, shiplap,
Yeah.
um, all types of shiplap. And now there's been this huge wave of white oak. We just finished a parade home here in Utah Valley, and we had 26,000 people go through, but the entire thing was rift white oak. And
Mm.
that was the things that stood out to people. So it's subtle but darker colors,
Yeah.
wood. We did arches, baseboards, casings, cabinets, stair treads, railings, everything out of oak. And so that by far is the most popular right now in the kind of the wood world.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you thought of like, because the other thing that I saw, which is really cool, is that you have a furniture division
Yeah.
too, right? And so like it almost feels like, Millhaven is this like vertically integrate, like it's literally a one-stop shop
Uh-huh.
for people. When knowing that you have gotten there organically, if you were to start over, was that the approach that you would still take?
Yes. And let me tell you what, it's the right thing to do. It's come with a lot of, like, we've learned the first,
Challenges, yeah, yeah,
yeah, the first go around on landscaping, we totally failed. And it cost us. We didn't have the right people, we didn't have the right infrastructure, and it cost us significantly, and financially, and kind of hurt our reputation for a minute. And then we rebounded, we put it back together, we got the right people in place. That's been great. Our first pass at furniture, we didn't know what we were doing. And now that we've got a different team and a better setup, it's been so much better. So would I still do it? Yes. Would I like to take out some of the lumps and the black eyes that we took along the way? Certainly, but I think that's part of the growth process.
yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, look, in all sorts of business, if you look at if the businesses that are really, thriving and killing it, it's all about customer service and customer experience. Like, say what you want about Amazon, but you know that you can actually predict when your product comes,
Yep.
and you have a variety. Um, what's it like working with literally like the extremely high net worth individuals? Like, like they're on another level, especially the ones that are moving to your state, sort of, and with from the coast, and
Yeah.
just like they're high demands. Like, what is it like to work with them?
Man, I get really excited about that because in everything that we do, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're flipping pancakes or selling lumber or whatever. It's about the people,
Yeah.
and that is by far my favorite part of Millhaven is the type of people that we attract and that we get to meet and work with, and we get into some of the experiences that they've had, and we have had incredible relationships. That part is it's different because most people that are at this level financially and this level of success, they
Hmm.
have achieved something from a business standpoint, um, and it didn't just happen. Like they
Right.
had to work for it, and so a lot of times I'll pick their brain and say, how, tell me about your story. It's one of my favorite questions to ask them once we've got a little bit of relationship. Tell me about your business. You just had a big exit, and you sold this company, but what was it like? And they similar things. They're like, oh man, in the beginning, startup, and it was a grind, and we just had a client we built for undisclosed amount, but because he had some partners, but they sold for 2.2 billion, and
Jeez.
we built his first house, and he was starting that company when we built his first house, small house, maybe
Yeah.
385, 400 was the total price with the land and the lot, or the lot and the house, and then to see him 6-7 years later go through this startup and to sell that to a larger portfolio company is incredible. And here's the best part, Steve.
Yeah.
Didn't change a bit. Yeah,
Ha. That's
nicer
awesome.
cars, nicer house,
Yeah.
plays
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
more golf,
Yeah. Yeah.
travels a lot more, has more free time. As an individual, exact same individual. You'd never know what his bank account looked like. And that is the part that I respect, admire, and that I seek out for in clients, is those that haven't let the dollars go to their head.
Yeah. I mean, what it kind of sounds like, it sounds really cool that you get to form these relationships with people that are literally the best in their corner of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to create a a space for them to have memories, to live life at their highest level, right? And you are able to fulfill their vision for what they want in their life and in their space and how they get to spend it, right? And then you have that one-on-one relationship with them, and it also feels like because of who they are and the solutions that you provide to them through your company and through your team, that it almost feels like you are actually having more fun than them, right? Like, or you creating an environment where they can have an enjoyable experience through this, when typically it's not.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I said, we're trying to reverse the narrative.
Yeah.
When we do our closeout meetings, we bring our clients in after we're done, and we do a big wrap up on how we did, and we look for feedback, etc. I have been in multiple client meetings where there were tears shed
That's
from the
amazing.
client,
Yeah.
and it kind of gets me emotional too. But I'm looking across the table, and they're talking about their superintendent, and they're talking about their interior designer, they're talking
Yeah.
about their project manager who managed the finances from the office the whole time, and they're saying things like, "We're gonna miss you guys.
Oh man,
You'll forever be a part of our family."
that's so
And
cool.
I had
So,
one, yeah, it's so cool. I had one client
so
say,
cool.
"I want to adopt this girl." Like she's a
So
younger interior designer, and she's done an
yeah,
incredible job. And she's like, I love her so much, and I will forever be grateful for the remainder of my life for her. And when I see that, that
you're doing
is
something right. You're doing something right.
check the box. Like that's
Yeah,
what we're aiming to do. Is I want, when the project's over, I want there to feel a little bit of loss, happiness for what they've accomplished, but lost that that relationship is going to be not as connected as it was for the last year and a half. So yeah, really fun. Like I don't know. You're asking questions that just get me fired up, and I get tingles down my spine thinking about it.
well, I mean, you do great work, and you're it's easy to have a conversation when it's very clear that you are passionate about what you
For
do,
sure.
and so, like, I'm grateful for the conversation. How what is your I mean, you got a healthy team, right? Like, what is your approach to hiring and build and culture building? Can you talk about that?
Man, you're killing it with these questions. It's like you did a little research on us. Like,
Yeah.
you're in my head.
again, you do great work, and you put yourself out there, and it's not like I have to search for those questions. You literally put it out there for me to ask,
Yeah.
So
Well, culture is a huge part of what we do at Millhaven, because you're not going to have happy clients if you don't have happy team members. And the idea is that we really try, and this has been our approach. We attract the talent that could be on their own, but then we make an environment for them where they don't want to leave. So if that makes sense, it's how do we let them feel like they're running their own business, but yet under our umbrella? We give them the skills, the training, kind of the framework to work within, and then let them do their thing as experts and get out of their way. There isn't micromanagement. Um, we really invest back in our people. We try and do a bunch of activities together. Um, I've put in a schedule where they need to do a quarterly activity as a team, like the different divisions. We do a larger quarterly activity as a group. We always do an end of the year party. We'd always do a first year kickoff. If anyone wants to take off to go do activities as a team and they want to go get something approved, that's a team building experience. We send them to home shows or builder shows or trainings or whatever. Absolutely. And then the other thing I do is that these houses are really demanding. Like clients do have high expectations. I'm not going to lie about that. But the first thing we do when we meet with the client is we do this kickoff meeting before we start the project, and we say, "Hey, here's the parameters in which you can communicate with your team members that are assigned to the project." And then we protect them from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock at night. I protect those people, meaning if you want to communicate with your superintendent, your interior designer, do it via email. Do not call them or text them after 6 o'clock, because they have a life, they have interests, they have hobbies, they have a family. They need to go home and recharge and find their purpose so they can give you their very best the next day. And I think our people appreciate the fact that everyone at Millhaven has each other's back. And we really have this mantra of, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And so we see a lot of people picking up pieces for other people that are struggling or behind or need help, and plugging in where they can. They're not just looking out for their little section. And it just creates a culture of unity and openness. My door is always open. Every single manager that we have, same thing. The amount of conversations that happen that I shouldn't be surprised anymore, but are very personal, that someone within the company comes to their manager and says, "Hey, look, I'm going through this personally." And then we say, "All right, great. How can we jump in? What can we do? You take some time off. Let us contribute here. How can we adjust your environment to make it better?" It's not like, "Hey, well, that doesn't fit in the Millhaven business model because we're not getting the best performance, so you work that out." It's like, "No, we're going to work with you because you've been with us."
Yeah, no, that's great. And how big is the team now?
So we have 54 people.
Dang,
Yeah. It takes a lot
incredible.
to, I mean, we
It takes,
do 15 to 16 of these customs, and they're usually 10,000 square feet on average. We have some that
yeah.
are bigger and some that are smaller. And so we assign anywhere from 6 to 8 people to every project.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do that in order to keep a really good customer experience on these high-end homes. And so it takes a lot of people.
It's like many companies within a,
Yeah.
a company,
Yeah.
right?
6 divisions.
All broken
One
out by
umbrella.
divisions, right?
Yeah.
And so and there are different people in different divisions working on different projects, right?
Yeah. And every division has ownership of their vertical, but they know how they integrate with all the other entities.
Yeah.
And same thing with the people that are in the management positions. They know that they are to run that how they see to be the best fit. So I
Yeah.
get out of their way. I mean, the best thing to do is just hire the right people and then just
Hire the right people.
just
Yeah,
get out of
no,
their way.
you can't do anything alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't do anything alone. Um, dude, this was great. All right. So this is a part of the podcast where I give you any marketing or business advice. Is there anything that you want to brainstorm or think through, or plans, ideas that you'd like to ideate on for the next year or so?
Yeah, I'm trying to think through. I mean, we have a number of things we've been trying to put in place as far as like efficiency and effectiveness that I think we've done. I think this might be a really odd question, but when you do a custom home, most of these people are in a cost plus scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
you're showing what everything costs, and then you're adding your percentage as the builder on top of whatever that cost is. The part that I often struggle with is that some of these competitors don't do an accurate job on the front end of vetting out all the details and bidding out the project.
Mm-hmm.
And so their initial costs versus their final costs are way different.
Yeah.
We've essentially eliminated that because we take a very intense approach to vet all that stuff out up front, because that's, in my opinion, one of the worst things is you come in and you say to your client, oh, we're $400,000 over what we told you. We're going to be sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. From the initial estimate to the like
Yeah.
the actual price. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that exists, and I can tell people that on a one-on-one basis, and I can show them how that works on a one-on-one basis, but I have to have them in there. What I haven't had to figure out, this is a long way to get there. What I haven't had to figure, or haven't been able to figure out, is how do I market that? Because it's not a sexy thing to just talk about.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're really
Yeah.
good at our budgets. People are going to be like, "What? I don't."
Yeah. 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 So I love that question, and I almost feel like is a very I mean it's kind of a simple thing. What I would do is almost create a one sheet slash downloadable brochure on this and talk about different types of projects and the range of each. So like you can show, you know, a 3,000 square foot, 5,000, 10,000, right? And then you show like what are the basic tenants of that project, landscape, furniture, whatever, like, and you just give examples. And then you can give a range of per square footage
Yeah,
for each, right? So like people automatically know, like, all right, if I'm going to build something new, this is in, and I'm looking at including this. And you can almost, something that you can think about too is like, um, you can almost look at it, and this could be a proprietary Millhaven thing, where you can almost build a little calculator so that people can play around with it. So if you add, because you do everything, right? Furniture, landscape, interior design, construction, right? Like
yeah,
you can have a base, and then you can, if you want landscaping, like what that would add. So it's almost like, you buy a Tesla, like you can customize it, but it's not the final, but what you can do is end up using it for generating more qualified leads and better uh, uh, educating your customer before they get to you, because there's a lot that you have to educate your clients on.
yeah.
So the first thing is like, I'd probably get those three things down, like three different categories down on a sheet of paper, right? And then use that in your sales process, or have it as a downloadable uh, sort of thing from your Instagram or your website,
Okay,
right? And then that's the first thing. The second thing is I would probably make a video about it, right? And you could do a 3-part video, right? And then show pictures to over with voiceover, and that could be a 3-part. Hey, what does a a 3,000 square foot house? What does a 5,000? What does a 10,000 square foot with built out, like? And you could just give a broad range. Like nobody's gonna know your actual prices, but like
sure.
you're in the end, you're just about educating. So first is the downloadable. The second is to create a video series. And then what you could end up doing with that video series is making blogs about it. And you can keyword the crap out of it so that you can get search engine. And then you can boost those posts on social to get more leads, period. Because the people that out educate their customers are the ones that win. And then the last thing is maybe build a Millhaven calculator, because if you have your things dialed, like test that out to just say like, all right, this is how much it would cost to work with us, and then you can use that to collect leads
Yeah,
at the end. So
yeah,
that's one thing that I that's or three things that I would look at potentially doing.
Yeah, those are great ideas. I especially love what you said is out educating people, and you, in order to educate, you have to know what you're doing yourself. And so
Yeah.
that drives a lot of our internal, like, hey, what do we know and what don't we know? And if we don't know something, go find it. So I love putting a video series together, and the calculator that would allow me to adjust that. If we see,
The calculator would be killer to
yeah,
be able to like have something almost like a custom home building calculator, because you add so much. And at the baseline, before adding in, because you have your labor costs,
mhm.
and you can pretty much estimate based off of the complexity of the deal, like what it would cost you in labor, and then the materials on top. Am I right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So you can have a base for that. And then on top of that, you're just like, hey, do you want to go medium end, high end on the materials? And then you can literally, because you use the same, the similar vendors for different parts of the projects. They all have different SKUs too on the materials, correct?
yeah,
So therefore, you can then plug that all into some sort of a calculator.
yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um. Cool. Very cool. Was that helpful?
yeah, yeah. That is.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Awesome. So why don't you tell everybody your Instagram and your website?
Yeah, it's just at Millhaven Homes and on Instagram, and we have, I think there's 5 other accounts. If you just look up anything at Millhaven, you're going to see a drop down or plans, interiors, landscaping, furniture, etc. And then our website is just millhavenhomes.com, and there's a variety of photo galleries there. We get a lot of people that pull inspiration from it. We get a lot of accounts that come from, like, we're doing plans and designs in other states too, so that's pretty
Are
interesting.
you?
Yeah, yeah, we are.
That's cool.
We don't
Very cool.
advertise it because we don't have like crazy bandwidth to take on all those projects, but for the right projects, we engage those, and they pick up a lot of value from what we're doing here.
That's really, really, really amazing. Yeah, I felt like I could talk to you for a long time, especially around
Yeah,
the furniture end. But
sure.
dude, thank you so much for your time, BJ. That was really, really appreciate it. And yeah, keep up the great work. Everybody go and follow Millhaven Homes on Instagram and millhavenhomes.com. All
Yeah.
right.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you having me. It's great.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right,
Bye.
we'll see you.